Hey Bearcats, thanks for joining us. Today we'll be talking about Sam Houston State's criminal justice program and what it has to offer with its top-ranked academics, real hands-on experience. We're excited to share more, so let's dive in.
Hey everyone, you're here this evening to explore the opportunities for the College of Criminal Justice. We've got several panel members here with us tonight. I'm Dr. Dave Stender. I'm the Senior Director for Strategy Innovation for the College of Criminal Justice, and we're excited to take you through a lot of information tonight and then hope to answer all questions that you might have. As we go through, you're not enabled to speak. If at the end you want to have some comments, I can allow you to talk. But as we go through and you come up with questions, please put those in the chat, and I'll be monitoring those questions. And if for one of our panel members, I'll let them know that information. So if we could, we'll start with introductions, and I'm looking from my left to right, Rachel.
Hi, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Dr. Rachel Houston. I'm the online program coordinator for the Forensic Science Department.
Magdalena.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Magdalena Denham. I am a professor of practice at the Department of Security Studies, and I serve as an undergraduate program director.
And Javier.
Evening, thank you for being here. My name is Javier Ramos. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology. I'm also serve as the Director of Academic Programs for our department.
And Shelley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Shelley Clevenger. I'm the chair of the Department of Victim Studies and also a professor in the department.
All right, give me a moment to share some slides and we'll start going through our information here. Can everybody see the slide? All right, great. So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't start with a word from Dean Lyons. Sorry, let me just turn that up a little bit. Stop on So tonight we're going to talk about a lot of different things, but among those certificates, and I'll talk a little bit about some specific certificates, but each one of the panelists will talk about the certificates available in their particular departments. We'll talk about programs, and again, we've got the program representatives here to talk about the specifics for their particular program. We'll talk about our online courses and the many different ways that we can offer opportunities for you here. And we'll also talk about our Bachelor's of Applied Arts and Science with a concentration in criminal justice and many other topics as we go along the way. So first thing I'd like to talk about is certificates. And again, we'll get into details, but one of the things that we highlight with our certificates is many of our students work. Many of our students are looking for a competitive advantage. And one way that that can happen is by earning an academic certificate. So to earn an academic certificate, all you have to do is complete the courses aligned with each particular certificate. And the good thing about that is you just have to tell your advisor I would like to take this certificate and let him know the information. It doesn't cost you any additional money and allows you to go in and show that you've done some things beyond just the normal coursework. So many of the courses here can all be taken as electives. And as each one of the programs talks about the different certificates, you can see that you're going to be able to get a digital badge. You'll be able to use that information to help you compete for scholarships, help you compete for internships. And then if you're applying for a job, this is one of those things that as soon as you finish the final course, at the end of that semester, you'll be awarded the certificate. So we'll talk more about these certificates as we go, but this is just one of the many things that we offer here at the college. So we'll begin with the Criminal Justice and Criminology Department.
Thank you, Dr. Sunder. I just want to provide a quick overview of the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology. In our department, we offer 2 undergraduate degrees. We have a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice as well as a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice. Both degrees are relatively similar. The main difference between them is that the Bachelor of Arts is going to require approximately 15 hours of a foreign language credit, and that has to be 15 hours of the same foreign language. So it can be something like Spanish, Chinese, Arabic as well, and sign language qualifies as well. The only thing to keep in mind is those 15 hours have to be for the same language. You can't take 3 hours of Chinese, 6 hours of Spanish, and so forth. For the Bachelor of Science, what that requires instead of the 15 hours of a foreign language is going to be 14 hours of social science courses. So that's going to be a list of courses in things like psychology, sociology, are some notable examples. But that's the main difference between them. The required courses in criminology and criminal justice are going to be the same for both degrees. Admittedly, we have more students enrolled in the Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice degree. Doesn't mean that it has a competitive advantage. I think it's just more students choose to take the 14 hours of social science courses versus the 15 hours of a foreign language credit. We also offer minors in criminal justice and criminology. So the 2 that are listed here are minors in crime analysis and mapping and a minor in criminal justice. So if you decide, for example, you want to major in psychology or another undergraduate degree within our college, for example, security studies, you can major in security studies and then also get a minor in criminal justice. That's not a requirement. It's an option if you want to do that, but that's one of the options we do offer. But just to talk a little bit more about, for example, the minor in crime analysis and mapping and the undergraduate certificate in crime analysis and mapping, those degree programs are put in conjunction with the geography department, and what those skills allow you to develop are skills in spatial analysis. So think about this idea that in research finding that crime tends to concentrate in certain places, and that's where those kind of skills and tools will be useful, being able to analyze crime in certain places across cities and towns and so forth. And it's also a skill that's very valuable to law enforcement agencies. A lot of them have their own research centers now. And so having those tools in crime analysis is really useful if you want to get a job that involves analyzing crime data. We also have some undergraduate certificates in, for example, management and leadership in criminal justice. So that is another opportunity for you to set yourself aside and have a competitive advantage. So if you're interested in going in law enforcement, but you want to take on a leadership role, the undergraduate certificate in management and leadership in criminal justice provides you some training to have background in those positions and those roles, and it looks very attractive on a resume. And that is the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at the end of this session. Thank you.
So I'm told that some of you might not have been able to hear when the video was playing, so we've got a special treat for you tonight. Dean Lyons has actually joined us, and he knew that we couldn't hear, and so he's going to talk to you and let you know some things about the College of Criminal Justice. Dean Lyons.
Well, thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. And first of all, let me thank you for your interest in the College of Criminal Justice at SAM. A little bit about us, and as my colleagues from SAM know, I'm the last one in the world to brag. So you'll overlook anything that sounds a bit braggadocious. But we are the leading criminal justice program in the state of Texas, one of the leading programs in the United States. There are 26 different colleges and universities that confer a baccalaureate degree in criminal justice, either the BA or the BS, which Dr. Ramos just described the difference between the two. By the way, you'll hear in the other departments that confer undergraduate degrees that same difference between the BA and the BS. So that difference is the same whether it's CJ Crim or victim studies or security studies. But there are 26 different colleges and universities that confer a baccalaureate degree and in criminal justice. And so we should have about 4% of the market. But in fact, we've got 25% of the market. A fourth of all criminal justice degrees in Texas are conferred by Sam Houston State. Usually the second and third place contenders combined confer fewer degrees than we do in any given year. So on the one hand, that's a great opportunity to brag a little bit. On the other hand, it also means that we're having an outsized influence on the future of criminal justice in Texas. We're making a difference in a way that other programs don't. And that means that our students have an opportunity to make a difference in ways that graduates from other programs don't. So I think you're right to consider coming to SAM. When I started as dean, we were celebrating our 50th year in criminal justice as leading the state of Texas. We are now celebrating our 60th year. So this is a great time to get on the CJ bandwagon at Sam Houston State. One of the things that comes along with having been the leader for so long is we have a very significant alumni base. It's hard to go into any criminal justice agency in the state of Texas and not see Sam Houston State University CJ degrees on the wall. We also have a very robust criminal justice center that's affiliated with the College of Criminal Justice, and that center provides training to thousands of participants every year in policing and corrections and courts and so on. So I think, although I'm a little bit biased, I think that Sam Houston State is the right choice for the vast majority of Texans in particular, but students from all over the country. And I too look forward to hearing a little bit more about the exciting things that we're doing. So with that, let me turn it back over to Dr. Stenda.
So next we'll hear from Magdalena about security studies.
Yes, hello. We are relatively a new child on the block in college. As you're probably aware, Homeland Security Studies were ushered by the events of 9/11 in the United States. And within those over 2 decades now, different programs were developed, not only in the United States, but also internationally. So we were one of the first that offered degrees, graduate degrees, and later undergraduate degrees in Homeland Security Studies. Just to give you an overview where our content is in Homeland Security Studies, I'll let you know a little bit about the expertise of our faculty. So we have faculty that have expertise in border security, in transnational criminal organizations, in immigration policy and refugee policy, in emergency management, in critical infrastructure, in cybersecurity, in management of risk, environmental security, and counterterrorism and countering violent radicalization. So that's just our core faculty, but also for our undergraduate programs, we rely very heavily on professionals with very strong field experience of at least a decade, and a lot of times much longer than that, of actually being in the field related to Homeland Security Studies. So we have a really excellent professor base and adjunct base, and so you are in really great hands in our programs. Just like with other programs, we offer the undergraduate degree both in a BS and a BA format, and BS seems to be more popular as well. And we do offer a minor in Homeland Security Studies. Our undergraduate degrees are fully online, and they are developed in what's called a premium design format. So those are very user-friendly, open educational resources, content courses that last 5 weeks. So that's a very good format because you are able to ideally schedule your courses at a 5A session or 5B session or 5 free sessions. You can actually stack those courses in one semester. And I said they are predominantly online, but we do, by request and by interest, also create special topic courses. And we put some courses together for interested students to attend face-to-face. And several of our faculty can do that if there's enough interest. For example, we have a course that is a face-to-face course on domestic terrorism. And we have run a course on pandemics and health issues for many years, and that's called Zombies and Homeland Security, which got a very, very sexy name to it. But it's a very long run course for us. The minor in Homeland Security, of course, is for those of you who don't quite know if you want to launch into Homeland Security studies, but you'd like to dip your toes in those topics. And we have some of the minor classes also available to teach face-to-face if there is an interest. But other than that, most of our undergraduate degrees are going to be conducted online in those 5-week premium design courses. We also offer, as Dr. Stender mentioned, several certificates. And the certificates that we have developed were developed based on the need of our private businesses and the employers in Texas and in our area specifically. And what I'm talking about is what we call lifelines that are so important to the functioning of a nation, but any risk to them is a huge societal risk. And in our area, we identified those 4 lifelines, one of them being energy and chemical sector. Obviously, we have a large industry in our region, so the employers are looking for those skill sets in risk assessments and risk management to those critical infrastructure in energy and chemical. So that's one of those offerings that it's very good to have for you if you're considering, getting into the Homeland Security spectrum and private business as well. Another critical infrastructure in our region is medical and public health. We have the largest medical center in the world, in Texas Medical Center in Houston area. So we prepare students to have a special focus at looking at resiliency in those in hospitals and in public health. And another one, of course, identified is transportation sector. We are a huge port hub. We have international airports. We've got a lot of cargo going back and forth on our rails. So this was one of the sectors that we identified as very critical in our area. And the last but not least is undergraduate certificate in biosecurity and pandemics. Of course, coming out of 2020 and the recent pandemic, that became also the Homeland Security Studies space. So we are filling it in by creating and offering a undergraduate certificate. So BA, BS, minor, and 4 certificates is what we have. And also, just like other programs, we offer internships in many of those sectors that I mentioned, as well as, of course, the public space, because emergency management, for example, is a huge public service function. That's all I have.
Well, we've got several questions that are coming up, and we'll get to those answers. Let's get through the departments first, and then I'll cue those particular questions to the departments if they're not already answered as we go along the way. So with that, let's go to victim studies.
Hi, everyone. So we are the first and only Department of Victim Studies in the nation. And we have a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and a minor in Victim Studies. And so you can do those online, but we also offer in-person classes, so face-to-face. And one of the special things about our department is we do a lot of community engagement. So meaning you would be doing things, not just papers. You would be doing interesting projects and going out in the community. I can tell you this semester, my students have victim memorials on display at the Texas Prison Museum. So memorializing victims, and it's on display in the museum. Everyone who comes in there gets to see them. And my students have made displays for libraries, the toy museum. They've made children's books. They've done all kinds of different things working with community partners. So if you take one of our classes, I can say as of today, all of our faculty have ACE courses. So that is something that you're interested in. We do a lot of community engagement. We also prepare people to work with victims and people who've experienced trauma. So it's not just victims. People have experienced trauma, whether it's in their jobs, whether they're dealing with people who have substance abuse issues. We prepare you to work in, it could be law enforcement, but it could also be nonprofit or the social work space. And we really love our students and we love to get to interact with them. So we would love to welcome you to Victim Studies. So thanks so much.
And one of the things that's not on the slide there, there's also a certificate in victim studies. And again, many of the same courses that you'll be taking will be part of that. Let's go on to forensics.
Hi all. Sorry, this slide's pretty busy. There's a lot of things to kind of get through. I'm sure many of you might have an interest in forensic science, maybe just in general. I know it's a very popular course in high schools. Here at SHSU, there's kind of some flexible options depending on kind of what you want to do in the field of forensic science. In our department, we have faculty that kind of span all of the forensic disciplines from forensic biology to toxicology to trace analysis, crime scene investigators, you name it. So we don't actually have a bachelor's degree in forensic science, like by itself. I'll talk a little bit about what you might want to do. We do have a minor in forensic science that's fully online that pairs very well with maybe a criminal justice degree or maybe a natural science degree if you're really wanting to be the person who is working in the lab, the person at the bench, analyzing the evidence, going to court, testifying about what this evidence means. So at SHSU, not within the College of Criminal Justice, they offer a degree in forensic chemistry, which is essentially a chemistry degree with a forensic science minor, as well as some criminal justice courses. And we also offer a biology degree with a concentration in forensic biology. So getting that science part as well as kind of what does this mean within the context of the criminal justice system. If you're interested not being the person at the bench, pipetting day in, day out, and you want to be in the field, I think the forensic science minor pairs very well with a criminal justice degree for somebody who's looking for investigative roles like a crime scene investigator, or maybe even just a law enforcement officer that's wanting to understand how this evidence can be used in court. Specifically, if you're a student looking to kind of go the investigative route, I think that the undergraduate certificate in investigative forensic science is a really, really good option for those type of career paths. One thing that's not on this slide that I think is a really unique opportunity at SHSU for undergraduate students is you have the opportunity to apply for either an internship or a volunteer experience with one of two willed body donor programs in the state of Texas called STAFFS, or the Southeast Texas Applied Forensic Science Facility. This experience is not something that you can do just anywhere, and I think it's a very rewarding experience and can offer students just a valuable exposure to human decomposition studies and other kind of forensic contexts that you wouldn't get otherwise. The other thing that I wanted to put on this slide, because I'd be remiss to not talk about are graduate degrees because they're very well known in the state, even though I know y'all are thinking undergrad, it's never too early to be thinking ahead. So we have two different programs at the graduate level. One is the Master of Science in Forensic Science. So this is the only accredited master's program in Texas. This is an in-person program, 2 years, full-time. It's really ideal for somebody that's wanting to kind of advance their career in a forensic laboratory. And then people that want to go even further and have even more school, we have a PhD in forensic science. In fact, we were the first PhD in forensic science in the US. And this is a little bit more focused in the kind of research side of things in forensic science, as well as leadership within the field. And then one thing that I always tell people, because kind of career paths can change or you're not certain, what you want to do, feel free to kind of email our general forensics at shsu.edu email. This will get directed to the appropriate person to kind of guide you along the way. And I also included a QR code to our Instagram page where you can see some of the actual stuff that we've done with forensic science at SHSU.
Thank you, Rachel. While we've got you there, just a question that from the field here. My daughter is interested in obtaining a forensic chemistry major and with a criminal justice minor. Is that a good path to lead into forensic lab environment?
Yes, definitely. So there's a lot of people in that. So we actually, the forensic science department is way far away on campus from the criminal justice department. We actually share a building with chemistry. A lot of students that get that degree, whether it's a minor in forensic science or a minor in criminal justice, but a major in that forensic chemistry, either go on to successfully work in labs like right away. In the state of Texas, you take all the courses that you need in order to be licensed in the state of Texas, or some of those students actually do join us and get a master's degree as well. So you're qualified for both.
So a question for Dean Lyons. If my goal is to pursue law and I'm able to be part of the criminal justice or criminology program, should I do that or should I look at pre-law? What can I do if I want to go into law?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this question honestly with the best advice I can give. So to do that, I would like for all of the department chairs that are on to just cover their ears for a moment. Here's the thing. The two things that you need to get into law school are a good LSAT score. And research has shown again and again that you should practice to do what you can to get that LSAT score as high as you can. That's one thing. The second thing that you need is a high GPA. Law schools don't care what your major was. So the best advice I can give you is to major in something that happens to be your passion. It doesn't matter what it is. The history of rock and roll, Renaissance literature, Greek mythology, whatever that might be. If you're passionate about it, then you're likely to invest in it. And that probably means that you're going to get a high GPA. Now, having said that, I think the best possible perfect storm is if that passion happens to be in criminal justice and criminology or forensic science or security studies or victim studies. In those academic courses, as an undergraduate, you will learn about the social and individual phenomena that influence and inform the decisions that people make or how it is they process those things, right? I think that that's a worthwhile pursuit. For me, in addition to being a lawyer, I'm also a forensic clinical psychologist. So I have a PhD in forensic clinical psych and a law degree. And so when I was pursuing my studies, I was able to find out those individual differences, the sources of psychopathology, the sociological influences that drive people or influence the decisions that they make. So for me, it was that perfect mix. It turns out what interested me about the law were the kinds of things that I would be learning about in a psych program or a sociology program. So that's my best advice to you is make sure that criminal justice is something you're passionate about. Now, having said that, obviously, excuse me, practicing criminal law is a good fit. Juvenile law, family law, mental health law. There are a lot of different areas of law where I think what you learn in a criminal justice program would be helpful and influential. But the most important thing is to pursue a course of studies that you're passionate about, that you're interested in. Again, ideally, that would be criminal justice. But if it's not, follow your passion and get that high GPA.
All right, we're going to shift back and go through some more of the slides, and we'll come back to some of the questions. There's still some more there, and we'll get to them. Either we'll type an answer to you, or we'll answer it here live. But we want to talk a little bit about our transfer students, and there's a QR code there in the right side. You also can just search for SHSU transfer. And one of the things you'll see on this SHSU transfer page, you'll see an icon that's associated with the multiple community colleges that we have partnerships with. If your community college is not listed there, or if you go online, you don't see it, don't fret. We may still have a relationship with them, and it may not be posted yet on the page. For example, if you're from Central Texas College, or you're from let's see, where's another one on here? If you're from some of the other colleges, I'm not seeing the one I'm looking for, so that might be an example there. But we're working diligently to get all these posted. And so what we try to do is we try to give you a transfer map. And so what that transfer map does is it looks for the courses that you may have taken to complete your associate's degree, and that's good for you to look at from where you're currently at. But more importantly, it shows you what courses you'll need to complete coming into our program. One of the things that I'll address as we go a little further in the presentation is our Bachelor's of Applied Arts and Science with a concentration in criminal justice. And so some of you have taken an AAS, an Associates of Applied Arts and Science, and so it might be in your best interest to move forward with a Bachelor's of Applied Arts and Science, because those degrees align well together. And so for the Central Texas College CTC, and then I see Lamar here as well, there's a couple of programs there that are AAS programs. And so what you're able to do is do a Bachelor's of Applied Arts and Science, and then do a minor in security studies, or you can look at the concentration of criminal justice. But I'll talk about that more as we go. We welcome those transfer students. We know that's not the only ones online, but this is just some good information as we go. So we also have some folks here that may be from Brownsville or McAllen. And so as we talk about Brownsville and McAllen, we're going to talk about the program a little bit there. We'll talk about the certificate that's focused on there. And then there's a couple of QR codes. If you look at the one under Brownsville, then it'll actually give you all the courses and information. There's a website that'll give you the information there. And the QR code that's under McAllen, of course, will focus on those courses in McAllen. So if you were going to the Brownsville campus, and again, you've got a QR code there where you can provide some more information. These are the courses that'll be offered in the spring and then following in the fall. And you're going to see a color code, and that color code will become important as we move down. The red courses are ones in the program that are required. And so this is talking about specific to the criminal justice and criminology degree. And whether you're doing a Bachelor's of Arts or Bachelor's of Science, there's 10 courses in that upper level. And those 3 in red are going to be required courses. And then the other courses, equaling up to 10 here, would allow you to complete all the electives you need. We'll talk about the ones in green. The ones in green, and we'll see them a little bit later, are aligned with our certificate, and I'll talk about that certificate. If you're at the McAllen campus, then the courses are somewhat similar, but you can see that we've got courses that required course in victimology. I mean, again, whatever program you're going to be in, you're going to have that victimology for either victim studies, or you're going to need it for criminal justice. And then you're also going to need those other 2 required courses if you choose to go into the criminal justice major. So these are all the courses that are available for the spring and the fall in McAllen. And you can get more information if you go to the QR code that's associated again with McAllen or with Brownsville, and it will provide you all the information that relates to that. So I talked about the certificate. If we look at the certificate in management and leadership, and Javier talked about this a little bit, a lot of folks choose to go ahead and focus on, if I'm going to be in a police department, I want to know a little bit more about strategy, a little bit more about management, then I can look here, and this provides me that management and leadership for criminal justice. And so if you were taking a program not in McAllen or in Brownsville, these are the courses you would need. The top course, the police systems and practice, that's typically one that you're going to complete in a program if you were to transfer, if you were in a criminal justice program, or if you were in our regular program, you're going to complete that at the lower level, the 1,000, 2,000 level. And then you can see with the stars that these are other courses that we're going to be offering at those two campuses where you'll be able to complete everything that's required within this certificate. So there's no reason that while you're pursuing those courses and you've got to take some electives along the way, you can complete the required courses and come away with a certificate. So the other thing that is available to us, and this is discussed a little bit, but I think it's important to talk about internships. And so with those internships, every one of our departments has an internship. And so in the past, internships were really focused at the upper level, and that changed over the last year. And so you really only need 30 hours of undergraduate work in order to apply for the internship. And so when I talk about applying to the internship, that means that you're just letting your advisor know that I'm interested in completing an internship. And so what that advisor will do is will look at your record. They'll make sure that you have the appropriate GPA. They'll make sure that you have those 30 hours. And then they'll put you in line with our internship director, who will look at all the information that is available, and they'll put you with a program that's more in line with what you were interested in. And so if it's security studies, we've got a lot of partnerships with organizations that support security studies. If it's criminal justice, we have those as well. Victim studies and certainly forensics. And we talked about the body farm opportunity. But the way it works is you can get between 3 and 12 hours, meaning one course or up to 4 courses. And again, that's part of those 10 courses that's in that overall requirement that you're going to need to complete at the upper level. So when you do that, if you were to work 10 hours a week, that's one course, and you can see it goes down to 40, and that would be up to 4 courses. And you can do all that in one semester for 15 hours, or it can be broken up. If you would like to maybe pursue a couple of different opportunities at different places, that's where you can do that, and you're able to get from really good experience. I've got a couple of the places that we have partnerships with, but literally we have over 300 partnerships across the state. So a new program that we have our CJ Pathways program. And so if you know, for example, that you want to be a law enforcement officer, and I'll get to questions as we get there. I know a couple people talked about wanting to be a detective and what can I do there? Well, if you're going to be in law enforcement, you're going to have to go to a law enforcement academy. And so you can do that when you complete your degree. You can go to a law enforcement academy. You can go to a community college that has a law enforcement academy. But typically in the past, if you were in the College of Criminal Justice and you were pursuing a degree and you wanted to be a law enforcement officer, you really didn't have an opportunity to do that until after you finished your degree. Now, a lot of people coming out of high school, you have to be 21 years old in order to be eligible to be a law enforcement officer. And when you complete an academy, you have to be 21. So you could be 20 and start an academy, but when you complete it, you'd have to be 21. What this program allows us to do is if you look at your coursework, and we talked about if we were in criminal justice, for example, and those 10 required courses, well, up to 4 of those could be an internship. And if you align your schedule to ensure that you've taken the other required courses, then in your last semester, you can complete up to 12 hours as part of the academy. And so you've got a picture here. These are 3 of our DPS, well, they're troopers now, but when we knew them, they were SHSU students, and they started the academy as a DPS trooper in training, but they were also an SHSU student. At the end of 15 weeks, they finished all the requirements for their degree, and so that allowed them the opportunity to be awarded their criminal justice degree. And so, unfortunately, because they're in the academy, they couldn't come to the commencement ceremony in the summer. And so we got a van. We brought Dean Lyons down to Austin. And so you can see here each one of them being awarded their degree. And so any academy that's more than 15 weeks applies to this program. And it wouldn't matter if it was a law enforcement academy for Texas peace officer, or if you were to apply to a federal law enforcement job, you're going to go through the federal law enforcement training program. It's called FLETC, and FLETC is also more than 15 weeks. And that would also be eligible for you to complete that internship as the last part of the degree. So for those individuals that already know they want to go into law enforcement, this is a good opportunity to take a look at what I can do to go through SAM, finish my degree. It's going to mean more pay. It's going to be better experience on your side as far as the things that you're going to learn, and it potentially could make you a better law enforcement officer. So I talked about the Bachelor's of Applied Arts and Science with a concentration in criminal justice. So for those individuals that have gone through an AAS program, then you can come directly into our Bachelor's of Applied Arts and Science. So some of the required courses: the Intro to Criminal Justice Systems, the Fundamentals of Criminal Law, Criminology. All three of those are ones that are typically part of an AAS program. So though you see the concentration of criminal justice here, there are some here that might be a part of that CTC program I talked about, or you might be part of that Lamar program. And so those community colleges have established an AES in emergency management and homeland security. And so as you complete those, if you are interested in moving forward, you could either adjust and go into the Bachelor's of Arts or Bachelor's of Science, but you'll lose some credits along the way that are part of those 60 hours in that AES. If you want to stay on track to complete your degree in that 120 hours, then your option here is to do the Bachelor's of Applied Arts and Science and then do the minor in Homeland Security. And so that minor in Homeland Security is going to give you all the upper level courses that you would take in a normal Homeland Security program, but it's going to give you the opportunity to move from that AES directly into that BAS. So our online programs are robust. And so this is going to talk about our premium distance learning program that's in a 5-week format. But I can tell you that every one of our degrees can be completed online. What we like to say is we meet you where you are, meaning that if you're ready to come to Huntsville, whether you're a transfer student, there's plenty of apartment complexes that are just waiting for you to get here. They're excited. But we have plenty of dorm space for freshmen. And if you want to come up and complete the program right out of high school, then that's a great opportunity as well. But for a lot of reasons, people don't have the opportunity to come and take courses in Huntsville, and they're more interested in completing those courses online. So all 4 of our programs, when I talk about the forensics, just keep in mind that the master's level is going to be in person along with the PhD level, but that certificate or minor is completely online. And so you can do all those programs online. In addition to that, we've also recognized for our working professionals that 5-week courses are also something that are very important to have the opportunity to complete. They're asynchronous, meaning that those folks that might be on shift work and that they need to log on at 5 in the morning or they need to log on at midnight, it doesn't matter what time you log on. You just have to complete weekly requirements. And so those weekly requirements would be an exam, and you would also have to complete an exercise. And so when you do that and when you go through the material is really based on your schedule. But keep in mind that you're getting 15 weeks worth of material in 5 weeks. So if you're a regular student and you want to take the 15-week online, that might be a better fit for you. But both are available. And so you can see the criminal justice, the minor criminal justice, security studies, minor in security studies. All of these are available in this 5-week format to include the forensic certificate. So you may also be interested in coming to campus. So if you wanted to come to campus, I'm going to show a slide in a second that's got a couple of opportunities that are coming up here really soon. But if you wanted to come on your own, you could just contact the visitor center, let them know that you're coming up. They will arrange a tour. and they'll make sure that you can come over and just let them know that you want to talk to the College of Criminal Justice and that's what you're interested in. And if you know you're interested in Homeland Security, for example, then we'll contact the Homeland Security Department. We'll make sure somebody's there to talk about their particular program. Same thing with victim studies. We'll make sure that we've got somebody there that can talk to you about what you are interested in and what you need. So coming up here really soon on Saturday, and there's a QR code right above, there's an opportunity for folks to come to Saturday at SAM. And so Saturday at SAM, you're going to have the opportunity to go from 7:45 in the morning until 2 p.m. And you're going to tour the campus. You're going to browse the different organizational booths from the students that are available. You're going to go through the academic programs, and you're going to do some things that you wouldn't normally get to do if you just come on your own for a tour. And so if you're interested in that this Saturday, please hit that QR code and register as soon as you can. Now, if you know that the College of Criminal Justice is for you and you need to wait a little while, then on the 7th of November is Preview at SAM. And Preview at SAM is specifically with the College of Criminal Justice. And so you can also register for that in that QR code right above here. You'll also get the guided tour, but the focus will be, again, really with those students that are focused in CJ. You'll meet the dean, you'll meet the faculty members, and you'll get overviews from all the academic programs. So if you're a high school student, maybe you aren't going to come to school starting in the fall of 2026. Maybe you've got a little bit more time to go. Another opportunity that we have is we have our summer camps. And so we typically do 4 summer camps over the summertime. And you can get more information. Just again, search SHSU CJ Summer Camps. We'll have more information that comes out online that covers these programs. But there's a lot of opportunity to go in and learn about criminal justice and to get some really hands-on experience with forensics. So we'll have our forensics team that actually comes over. You won't go to the actual body farm, but you'll get an opportunity to engage with our leading professionals, and you'll do some fun activities that are associated with that. And there's a lot of state and federal agencies that participate in that summer camp. So I want to make sure that you just take note that the 13th to the 19th of October, so we're almost there. Starting the 13th, there's no application fee. And so an application fee, typically if you were to apply to the college or apply to any place to come to SAM, you're going to pay a $50 application fee. And most universities have that same associate fee. It helps them to do a lot of things. But the governor passed legislation and said from the 13th to the 19th, you can submit your application and have no application fee. You just must be a Texas resident. You've got to apply on Apply Texas, which again, if you go to SHSU admissions, it's going to give you that opportunity to go right to Apply Texas, and you've got to be applying for undergraduate admission. And so you can be a first-time student, meaning you're coming from high school, or you can be a transfer student either way. And so that's some good information for you to know. And this is the information for your application. So we're at the questions phase. So I'm going to switch back over to the many questions that we have, and I'll answer as many as I can. And then I'll go through and make sure we type in answers for those that may not have been answered. And so for the folks online, if you can see those questions for our panel members, if you know an answer already and you want to answer, feel free to do that as I go through. But I'm going to start at the top. It asks about, is it possible to take college classes in criminal justice and not be a major or minor in the offered field? Well, absolutely. So you might decide that you want to be in psychology, or you might want to be in another department. I'm not sure exactly why you'd want to be over there, but you might decide that that's important for you. And but you also want to know about criminal justice, and you don't want to complete a full minor, but you want to do some of your electives. Well, you can absolutely do that. Those semester credit hours will count, and you'll be able to get what you need. So the next question is, hello, so I'm part of I want to be a homicide detective, and I want to be a part of the homicide detective program. Which courses and what steps should I take to get there? So I'll answer this partially, and then I'll see if our panelists have some things for you as well. I mean, first off, understand that if you're going to be a detective, you're going to be a police officer, and that means you're going to have to complete an academy. And so typically when you complete an academy, you're going to work as a patrol officer for a period of time, and then you'll have the opportunity to compete and move up and be a detective. Rachel talked a little bit about the forensics minor or the forensic certificate that's available. That's a really good option for folks that want to be in criminal investigations because that covers the forensics portion that is aligned there. And then our criminal justice investigations program is pretty solid as well. Let's see if Javier has a few things he might lend a hand with that.
Yeah, Dr. Sender, just a couple things I would mention. We do have courses, like one in particular, it's a criminal investigation course that would be very useful if you eventually want to be a homicide detective. But I think one thing that's important to keep in mind, especially if you want to be a homicide detective, is our internship opportunities are very good to kind of getting that hands-on learning and skills for these types of positions. So the Houston Police Department is going to be one of the main internship programs that we work with. And so if you're interested, for example, of working with HPD, getting an internship program would be something that would be very vital to getting the experience and basically understanding, is this really what I want to do? And I always say this, the internship programs provide us with the experiential learning that you might not get in the classroom, but it also very useful for figuring out what you want to do as well as what you don't want to do. So those are the couple things that I would keep in mind for that.
And Dean Lyons?
Yeah, I would just throw out there something that I think is useful advice for people who are contemplating a career in criminal justice generally, but specifically for people who are interested in becoming homicide detectives. And that is that there are all sorts of opportunities out there that you've probably never heard of, right? So when I hear homicide detective, I think about someone who's investigating homicide crimes. By far, the most common route toward that would be somebody who, as has been pointed out, becomes a municipal police officer or perhaps a deputy sheriff, and then they spend some time in patrol, and then they move into investigations, and then from investigations, they move into homicide investigations specifically. That's by far the most common route. However, there are other routes. So, for example, many people aren't aware that the medical examiner's offices hire and commission peace officers. So, for example, if you work for the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office, you may be a peace officer conducting homicide investigations to determine the cause of death. Technically, what the police officers are doing is a murder investigation because they're trying to determine whether or not somebody has committed the crime of murder. It's actually the medical examiner's office that's conducting the homicide investigation because they're the ones that are trying to determine the cause and manner of death. A third possibility is somebody who works as an investigator with the district attorney's office. This district attorney's offices have their own peace officers. When I was a detective, for example, I would conduct an investigation. I would bring it to a certain point. I would go to the district attorney's office. I would get a statement of probable cause, prepare a warrant, arrest the suspect, perhaps secure a confession, and then turn my case over to the DA's office. Oftentimes, the DA's office has ground that has to be made up. There are additional witnesses that have to be investigated, additional evidence that has to be secured. They do that with their own investigators. They don't go back to the investigators who originally handled it. So absolutely, a local municipal or sheriff's office to work your way up from patrol to investigator to homicide investigator, common route. Second route, work for a medical examiner's office as a commissioned peace officer. You don't have to do the patrol thing. You don't have to work your way up through investigations. Or then finally, as I said, working as a DA investigator. Now, obviously, not all of those crimes are going to be homicide, but obviously the homicide crimes are going to get a lot of attention. So with that, I'll turn it back to Dave.
All right, so we got some questions that are going to Homeland Security to you, Magdalena. So, first question is, I know there are different options for completing Homeland Security as a master's. Can you elaborate on that a little bit as far as different opportunities that might be available at the master's level?
Certainly. So our graduate program is also online. And courses in it are 7.5 weeks long. So they are more traditional but they're premium design. And our graduate courses are taught by full-time faculty at the college. Within the graduate program, we have 2 graduate certificates, depending on the area of interest. One is in emergency management, and the other one is in critical infrastructure protection. So depending on the interests post-graduation, typically our critical infrastructure protection certificate is geared towards working with private businesses, whereas the emergency management certificate is geared towards public service. But that's a big generalization because emergency management exists within the private sector as well. Because if you are a nuclear facility, if you are a wastewater plant, if you are a hospital, you still have to prepare for all the safety risks to safety within that organization. So a hospital's got patients that they need to evacuate for a hurricane. Of course, you know, there's also that level of engagement into those professions in those sectors. So we offer summer courses. So the degree with 7.5-week format, you can actually stack your courses into 7.5A and 7.5B session. For example, I'm wrapping up the 7.5A session right now. My next session, 7.5B, starts next week. So you are able to, if you're working, for example, take classes in summer, but also the degree can be obtained within a year and a half for some students, typically within 2 years, but it is possible to do it in a year and a half. And at the graduate level, we also offer internships. They tend to be with industries. So I just got an inquiry about Cheniere, which is a chemical partner in their investigations. And we've got internships in many of the emergency management and homeland security outfits as well. So that would be our graduate offerings.
Well, I've got you there. Another question is if I were interested in pursuing the Border Patrol, what level of a degree might I need? And then what are some programs that you might recommend? Let me just read the question exactly how it is so I'm not ad-libbing. What level of degree is recommended for Border Patrol under Homeland Security? And where should I apply for hands-on experience is the question.
We do have again, hands-on experience through the internships, and we do have a partnerships with United States Customs and Border Protection. So that is the agency under the Department of Homeland Security that comes in and recruits on our campus and offers internships. And specifically, there is also, with respect to border security, an internship program called Pathways. And so that is specific border security pathways, and actually it's in coordination with Homeland Security Investigations. Homeland Security Investigations is less known as a federal entity because it's relatively new. They do a lot of those 18 title cases as FBI would do, for example, but certainly it has a border nexus, so across the border crimes. So I would suggest definitely an internship through the pathways with Border and Customs, perhaps with ICE and entities like that. For a border security, I sort of look at it this way because I thought there was another question about being a DEA agent. So the border security is under the Department of Homeland Security. So those 1811 positions, which are federal criminal investigations, that fit under the Department of Justice, probably the degree in criminal justice and criminology would be better, perhaps with a minor in Homeland Security studies. Whereas for Secret Service or border protection, that might be better to do the degree in Homeland Security Studies with a minor in CJ. So that's sort of how I would break it out.
Thank you. I was typing an answer to another one, but let's see. What degree programs or majors are best to prepare students for a career in the DEA? So, Dean Lyons, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I was afraid you were going to to go to me. Um, I think, it seems to me as though obviously a criminal justice degree is going to get into a lot of the sort of criminological and sociological factors. The other thing I can think of that might have some relevance would be political science, in part because a lot of both the supply and demand issues are transnational and do involve public policy considerations. Um, I think most of the federal agencies don't really care what the degree is in. And for most of the federal agencies, a CJ or Homeland Security Studies degree would be beneficial. Obviously, in for some of those agencies, a victim studies degree would be as well. The one exception to that is that the FBI tends not to hire criminal justice graduates. So if you're interested in a career with the FBI, you should find out what the hot, sexy topics are these days, right? So for example, Middle Eastern studies or Farsi would be recommendations that I would have. But as far as DEA specifically, I think a good solid grounding in CJ with emphases in criminology and sociology would be useful.
And I would add to the Dean comment that we do at Homeland Security Studies have within our minor drug policy course as well. So, and some courses on transnational crime. So that could be a good complement to pick up some elective courses or do a minor.
Thank you. So the next question is, my son is graduating with an Associate of Science with his high school diploma. Congratulations, first off. Is the Associates of Science any advantage if he decides to go to CJ? Still would take him 4 years to graduate. Well, the answer to that is no. The advantage of taking that associate's degree is that for the most part, you're going to have gone through all of your 2-year requirements that are in the program. Now, keep in mind that if you wanted to complete a degree in criminal justice, and there are some 1,000 and 2,000 level courses that might not have been included in the high school program that you're particularly taking, because each program is a little bit different and each high school offers a little bit different specialities. So if you didn't take the criminology, if you didn't take intro to criminal justice, police systems and practice, and some of the others, you'll have to still take those courses, but you're going to be well on your way. Likely you'll have 60 hours and you just need another 60 hours along with the required courses that are at the undergraduate level. So you could require more than 120 hours to complete your degree. It's just because in that Associates of Science, you may not have completed all those courses. Let me go on. I'm going to try to go quick here so we can get to as many as we can. My daughter's interested in becoming a forensic detective. What would be the best place for her, including wanting to be a leader in her field? So first off, as a forensic detective, I'll ask Rachel to address that question. But before I get to Rachel, I just want to say that if you're thinking about a detective, most criminal justice, most crime that's going to be investigated is not necessarily going to be a forensic scientist. If you're doing criminal investigations, you're going to use forensic techniques. So in addressing the question, Rachel, could you just talk about a little bit how that either minor or the certificate in forensics could also assist if they didn't actually want to be a forensic scientist?
Sure. Yes. So like Dr. Stender said, a forensic detective is a little bit of a misnomer, I suppose. So let's say that you wanted to be like the crime scene investigator. So this person is applying like forensic techniques to help, reconstruct the crime, find the evidence, all that kind of stuff. So if that's something like of interest, the certificate or the minor in forensic science would be really applicable to that. Now, if you wanted to be like a detective, I feel like having the knowledge of, what types of evidence, should we be looking for? What can the lab actually process? Things like that. I think that that's something very, very valuable for a detective, of course.
Thank you. So, can you take forensics and criminology, criminal justice courses at the same time? Absolutely, you
Sure.
can. Yeah, so you might be interested in completing a criminal justice degree, and you may be interested in doing a minor. And you could do a minor in the forensics program. You could do the certificate. Just keep in mind, I talked about at the upper level, whichever program you go in, you're going to have 10 courses that are required for you to complete. One of those courses is going to focus in research. One of those courses is going to focus if you're in victim studies or victimology or victim studies or criminal justice on victimology. And then the other courses that are in that program are going to be electives. And so you can choose your own path with the electives. You can choose to focus on those certificates that we've talked about that'll align you in the specific areas that you know you're going to be interested in. Or you could focus on completing courses that you of interest to you and then do the internship for up to 12 hours of the internship program. There's a lot of different opportunities available to you, and that's why we try to put you in the driver's seat. And then we're not going to leave you out there on your own. We're going to give you some guidance. We're going to help you along the way, but you get an opportunity to choose what you want to do and how you want to do that. And that goes along to the next question a bit is do the internships count if I'm going to apply for a job as job experience? Well, it depends on the job you're applying for. I would tell you that there's nothing wrong in your application when you complete an internship to put that on your application, to definitely identify that in your resume and talk about the things that you were able to do while you were in that environment and the things that you learned. So I think the answer to that is absolutely. So let's see. I've got several more questions. My daughter wants to be a special agent in the FBI working in child crime, working in the child crime unit. I would appreciate any recommendations you have for her to accomplish this. Well, if she's interested in child crime and we're thinking about the FBI, I'm going to ask Shelley Clevenger to answer this question.
Sure. So, excuse me, we have a course in child abuse and neglect and also family violence, which are related to that. And also in our interviewing and counseling and trauma and crisis intervention course, we teach our students how to interact with children who have been victims. So that's just 4 classes off the top of my head. There might be more. And a lot of our students go on to work with child victims. Whether it's, in law enforcement or a federal agency, or more locally, we give you the skills to help you achieve those goals if you do want to work with child victims.
Thank you. And then more broadly, Dean Lyons, do you want to talk about applying to the FBI and some things that might make you more marketable for that?
Well, certainly one of them is to get those internship experiences. Uh, I the FBI increasingly, as with other federal agency, looks at those kind of soft skills, right? Effective communication. I would recommend if you're interested in so the two sort of big crime categories that come to mind. There aren't a whole lot of juvenile offenders who commit federal crimes, right? So it's probably going to be more on the victim side. The two examples that come to mind most readily are human trafficking of children, and then also child pornography and child sexual exploitation. And in both of those domains, I think a good solid background in psychology, in particular developmental psychology, in addition to, as Dr. Clevenger mentioned, the background in victimology would be helpful as well.
Thank you. So what GPA do I need to go into the internship program? Well, that's a 2.5. And so if you are coming in and you don't have a 2.5, you can work your way up to that 2.5 to take the courses, but you've got to have 30 hours and you have to have a 2.5 GPA. And so when you talk to your advisor is when you're going to have the opportunity to apply for that internship program. So is the online course and the on-campus course the same, or are there things that are different? Well, I can just tell you that the modality is different. I mean, if you're taking an online course, then you are going to do a lot of self study. You're going to do a lot of things that either if you're in a PDL course, for example, everything's contained in that course. If you're in a 15-week course that is not in a premium distance learning format, you may have a variety of different experiences there in that online format. You're going to get everything, all the learning objectives that are associated with a course are going to be covered any online course that you take. Now, if you take courses in person, let me just ask the panel to talk a little bit about the difference might be between the online and in person. Javier, do you want to address this one?
I would just say I think the main thing is just having that face-to-face contact. For some students, it's very vital. That's the best way that they learn. Also, like one of the big things is I often get asked by students and former students to write letters of recommendation. So if you're in my face-to-face class, you have an opportunity to talk to me after class, come to my office hours. And so it's much easier in those contexts to write a letter of recommendation for a student that you know. Whereas if it's online, it can be a little bit more difficult to, build rapport and could be, sometimes a little bit challenging. Not saying it's impossible to ask, an online professor for a letter of recommendation. You can still exchange contacts via email. We also provide opportunities for Zoom meetings online. So I think that those would be some of the things to keep in mind. But as Dr. Stender mentioned, the online classes and the face-to-face classes have the same learning objectives. So the content itself, a lot of that's going to be very similar. It's just going to be a matter of personal preference and what works best for your schedule and your learning.
So in addition to that, one of the next question comes up is if I do online, can I still do an internship? Well, the answer to that is absolutely yes. So what we like to do is, again, when you tell your advisor, I want to do an internship, I'm in this online program, you're going to get an individual appointment with our department that, well, not our department, but our section that focuses on that. We've got an internship director, and she's got some folks that help her, but they'll meet with you individually, understand what your interests are, and then try to get you with a program that's the best. In some cases, we may have a partnership with the area that you're directly in, and that might be a perfect way to get you into to that area of an internship. You may have the option to do a virtual internship. I mean, there are a lot of different opportunities available, and just because you're an online student doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to do the same things. And I encourage you to pursue that if you're online. Next question is, so I'm a freshman right now and majoring in criminal justice to eventually do law enforcement. And I heard you say the undergraduate certificate for management and leadership in criminal justice would look good on my resume. How would I do that? Is it a course? Well, Javier, do you want to address that, or would you like for me to?
You can go ahead and address it, but what I could also
Okay,
do is I can I can put the link, answer it and provide the link
please.
so we could provide the list the
So I showed a slide earlier that had the courses that were aligned with that. First of all, you're going to have to take police systems and practice, which is typically that 1,000, 2,000 level course that you're going to take in the program anyway. So whether you're in an associate's program and you're transferring, or you're in the program here at SAM, you're going to take police systems and practice. And then the other courses that are required, which should be a total of 3 of those upper level courses, you're going to have 2 that are required. And so let me go back to that particular slide so you can see it, because just so happens I have that one available, and I'll share the screen just so you can see the information. if I can get to that. Here we go. So again, courses that are going to be required, introduction to police personnel management, contemporary issues in police management. Those are two upper level required courses you're going to have to take along with the police systems of practice. And then the three courses that are below, understanding human behavior, professionalism and ethics in criminal justice, or police strategies, those are our options of ones that you complete. And then you can look at that link that was sent to you on the question, and that'll help you in that direction. So what course and internship is best for a homicide detective? I think we've addressed that. Again, if you are looking to be a homicide detective, you're going to have to be a police officer. You can choose what degree you're going to go through. I think criminal justice may be the area that you're focused on. You may then do that forensics certificate. You might do a forensics minor that's going to help you in that area. You may just stay in criminal justice. There's plenty of things that in the criminal justice program that are going to help you there as well. And then as far as the internship, it's just a matter of getting in your application to your advisor, and we'll place you in the best position we can to get what you need out of that internship. Or is the recording going to be available? Yes. So if you did not register, which again, there was an opportunity to register for this webinar, but for some reason you did not register for this webinar, if you'll send an email to the email here, the DXS127, if you'll send an email to that address, we'll make sure you get a copy of the recording. If you've already registered, then you'll definitely get a copy of the recording. But I know that some may not actually have registered coming in, so I just want to make sure that you have the chance if you want to get the recording. So what about any internships for high schoolers in criminal justice? Well, you might have some things available to you through your high school internships through us. You're going to have that opportunity once you come into the program. So you're going to have again, 30 hours. You'll have to have a 2.5 GPA. And then even if you're a freshman coming in, it's not unheard of. It's not uncommon for freshmen starting to have more than 30 hours. And so you might meet that requirement right off the bat and have the opportunity to do that. So what advice or guidance would you offer to someone aspiring to pursue a career in DEA? I think we've already addressed that. So let me see, what kind of internships are available for FBI and HHS? Well, I can tell you that, again, you're going to apply to the program. You're going to tell us what you're interested in. You oftentimes, if you want to get into the very specific programs like Homeland Security, with the HSI program or with the FBI, they have their own application opportunities. And so it's very competitive. They'll usually have a window that opens up early in the spring for the next year, and they're going to take as many applications that are available during that time frame, and then you may get selected for an internship or you may not. So if you're interested in the FBI, that's a good way to go, but you may not get in that internship. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have a great experience in other internships that are out there, and that it will help you and be more competitive to move forward. What path should I take if I'm considering becoming a forensic psychologist? Well, forensic psychology is definitely a unique program. I think the dean stepped away, or I'd have asked him to address that. If you're going to go into forensic psychology, I think that you probably need to look at the psychology program. That's not something you're going to necessarily get from criminal justice. Dean Lyons, sorry, I know you stepped away, but the specific question is, I'm interested in becoming a forensic psychologist. What's the best pathway to go that direction?
Yeah, Dr. Stender got it exactly right. In order to become a forensic psychologist, you're going to have to get a PhD in clinical psych, and that means getting into graduate school. And the only way to be absolutely sure that you have met the prereqs, that is, taken all the substantive courses required to get into graduate school, would be to get your bachelor's degree in psychology. Now, I will share with you that psychology is the most common minor for CJ majors. and CJ is the most common minor for psychology majors, at least at Sam Houston State. So there's a fairly close relationship between those two programs. In fact, we have several faculty members in CJ who are psychologists, myself included. So my advice would be either double major in CJ and psych, or probably the most direct course would be simply to major in psychology and minor in criminal justice. That way, when you graduate, you'll be positioned well to be competitive for grad school applications.
So a question here, I know Saturday at SAM will be very busy. Will there be an opportunity to have more specific discussions about possible major minor paths from experts such as yourself? And the answer to that's yes. You're going to have an opportunity to get information about different programs available. Please don't be shy. You're not going to get an answer to a question that you don't ask. And so if you want to know about a particular program and you want to know somebody for that program, there will be people there available and we'll cover that information. So please just ask your question and we'll make sure that you get something that is going to help you in that path. For those who apply between October 13th and 19th, what is the expected time frame for an admissions decision? Well, first I can tell you that I think because of the free applications, our admissions department might be flooded with applications. And so the typical turnaround and when you submit an application is we try to get within 72 hours, you would get an email from the university. And in that email, it's going to tell you, thanks for applying. It's going to give you all that information. Then it's going to tell you, if you've taken any college courses, you need to submit your transcripts, and here's how to do that. And then in addition to that, it's going to tell you any other requirements you might have. So it's only after you complete those requirements, which would be, again, if you took courses and you need to get a transcript in, well, you've got to get that official transcript in. They can't make a application decision until after that's completed. So they'll do it as quickly as possible. I would say that you should hear something within 72 hours. If you don't fret. I mean, again, if you want to reach out to the email address that's on the screen, certainly would be something we would take a look at. But it's going to take at least 72 hours to get back to you. And if they get to you earlier, then they will. But they're going to get the information to you. So let's see if I've got any other questions that we want to answer before we end. I think we can do one or two more questions. Magdalena, what are the things you can do with a Homeland Security degree?
Well, one area is private business. So all the sectors that I talked about need risk analysts, and that's where we come in. So assessing risk, assessing vulnerability, doing planning for safety and security for corporations, for the energy industry, and so on and so forth. And the other route is, and that's where I see a lot of my students going, it's local, county, state, all the way to federal level of disaster crisis management and different areas of emergency management. So either in planning or in recovery operations or in mitigation practices or in support and coordination of a response. So emergency management is an interesting field because, the people that do things in the field, the fire and EMS and police officers and public works, they're actually in the field during response. But there's so much that happens before that event happens, or when we plan for hurricanes, or before we plan a major evacuation of a major city, or when we are dealing with a sudden shut off of power, or we have a historic winter event in the state of Texas. That's where the emergency management comes in, and it works the same on the public side as it is on the private side. Everybody needs to plan for those things, particularly as we see specifically natural events that are becoming more complex and more multifaceted. We call that cascading disasters. We've seen in Texas in July what happened in Kerrville, and that tragedy with the flooding. And so the warning systems, those are the things that communications in crisis that our students do. That area is also growing in universities and schools. So you can be a risk analyst or a safety officer for emergency management in school districts or at the universities. And certainly some of our students end up with three-letter agencies. So and go into federal law enforcement, and border security being one of those areas, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, the Immigration Agency. There is a cybersecurity federal agency called CISA. So those are also pathways, for federal jobs on the law enforcement side. And probably the one other area, we get some students that join the services as well. So and they become part of the military.
Thank you. I would just say, in addition to that, I teach Homeland Security Intelligence, and another area that a lot of our students have been interested in looking at is going into crime analysis. And so that's another area that, HSI, FBI, increasingly more at the local level, but certainly at the state level, there's crime analysis programs available. And you can get that through the Homeland Security program, or you can get that through a criminal justice degree. I mean, there's a lot of different methods that you could go into that, but that's something that it's available to you as well. Next question I have is related to, I wanted to do sign language. Would I be able to do field work with my intern, as an intern? Would I be able to do field work aside from an intern? I think that's something that, if it wasn't within our intern program, that's something you probably can work with the department that's doing the sign language. Of course, just know that, like Javier talked about, you've got 4 courses you're going to have to complete related to that foreign language. And one of those options, again, is sign language. And so sign language is hugely important. There's a lot of miscommunication that happens with the deaf community. So having that skill is great. If there was something for an internship and you wanted to use that skill, that's something, again, just to talk with the internship department. And when they look at your specific information, and if there's something available, I'm sure they would get you along that path. But I think you would have an opportunity to talk with the folks that are teaching sign language. That might be a way to do that. And then as you apply for an internship, if there's something specific to that, then that's something that they would ask out to find. Last question I'm going to answer, and we'll end it for tonight. I'll still type answers to the questions that are still left, but how is my service in the Army, specifically reserve, benefit me while being in college? Well, I can tell you that if for those folks that are interested in the program, maybe you're a transfer student, maybe you haven't applied to the program yet and you've got experience in that area, you can do a joint services transcript, which is a JST, a joint services transcript. And with that, from an academic credit side, you're going to have the opportunity to get credit for a health sciences course, which might be one of the required courses you have on the core course requirement side. In addition to that, if you were interested in a Bachelor of Applied Arts and Science, there may be a way to count some of those credits for in-block credit, but a portfolio would have to be done. There's some things that specifically we'd have to look at. And then more importantly, I think if you're doing that, like in your case, you're a reservist and you're also a student, how is that going to help me moving forward? Well, you're going to get a lot of experience in the field working as a reservist and whatever MOS that you have. I retired after 26 years in the Army. I was a lieutenant colonel as a military police officer. And so there's lots of things that you're going to learn about project management. There's a lot of things you're going to learn about communications. There's a lot of things you're going to learn about working as a team. And so all those things are going to make you better. And then as you fill out applications to go to work afterwards, since you are a reservist, then you're going to be working full-time somewhere else. Those are things you can leverage to help you get a job with your resume and things like that. So I think that's all the time we have for questions. Again, if you had a question and you didn't get that question answered, if you want to get a copy of the recording and you did not sign up, so again, you should have had the opportunity to register for the webinar. But if you didn't get a chance to register for the webinar, then send an email to this address here. Can you guys see the slides? Okay, just want to make sure. Issue with my sharing. So you should be able to send an email to that address, and we'll make sure you get a copy of the recording that covers everything that's been covered tonight. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We're very excited about having you here. Whether you come online, whether you pursue one of the programs we have available in McAllen or Brownsville, or you come right here to Huntsville, you're going to find a home in one of the departments here in the College of Criminal Justice, and we're going to make sure that you get the things you need to be successful moving forward. So thanks for your time, and looking forward to seeing you on campus or seeing you online or somewhere along that area. So any other final comments for our panelists before we finish up? Dean Lyons, I'll first go to you.
I don't think so, other than to encourage the students who are considering us to do your research. I'm convinced the harder you look at programs, the clearer the choice will be. And I look forward to seeing you down the road.
Magdalena?
I echo that, and also, look at our rankings of our programs. They rank in top 3 nationally consistently. So across all our programs. We're looking forward to seeing you here.
Javier?
No, I would just like to emphasize that, we have the best programs. We change and are very instrumental in informing. Sorry, have my son here with me. Very instrumental in informing, the criminal justice, not just in the state of Texas, but across the country and across the world. So we have an amazing program, amazing students, and it's a great place to be.
Well, not much
you.
else to say. Yeah, like everyone said, I think that if you come to SHSU, specifically in the College of Criminal Justice, I think you will find a home here, and I think it's really awesome to see how SHSU really kind of impacts the criminal justice system in the state. I look forward to seeing y'all.
And Shelley?
We're the only victim studies department, therefore we're the best. So we would love to have you be a part of our department, and really any of the departments. The college overall is great.
Thanks. So again, thanks for taking your time to listen to us tonight. If you've got other questions, please send them out. We'll be happy to answer. Hopefully we'll see you at Saturdays at SAM, or we'll see you one of the other events that are coming up, and you can get a lot more information there as well. But have a good evening, and thanks a lot.